Hey, what's up everyone? Morey Croson here, and today we're going to be going over the best quarterback progression to go through when you're throwing, and we'll start the video right now. This is the newest edition of the Performance Lab.
Reach your individual goals. You don't want to just talk about straight line speed. We also want to talk about your ability to be quick. We break down your video. Let's make you into the quarterback I know you can become.
All right, so I'm making this video. I recently got this recommendation. I thought it was a great idea to be able to go over some of the main things we want to go through when we're progressing and really, thinking about improving our mechanics overall. Before we get too much into it, though, I do want to say, before we, want to make improvements, we do have to make sure, you have plenty of range of motion through the main areas of the body, right? So we want to have good spine rotation. We want to have good shoulder activation. We want to have good, wrist range of motion. We want to have good ankle and knee range of motion, and we also want to have good hip range of motion. We've gone through videos with those in the past, but I'll go over a couple just key exercises I think are going to be important for you to be able to achieve, just adequate levels of range of motion within, those areas. So I'll start off with the ankle. The main thing that I think will be important here is going forward to the side, to the inside, just making sure we have enough to be able to come all the way through. And even if you want to kind of shift your weight, and I think the more often you could just think about, shifting your weight onto your front foot and really being able to push off that back foot. And that ends up being, the main thing that we got to be able to get the timing correct on is how are we going to be able to use that lower body. So when it comes to progression, the first thing you want to really be thinking about is, how well can I push off and be able to get plenty of rotation here, get that heel up, right? We talk about this a lot, right? How well am I able to do this? And just working on these small little things, right? So I have my foot in the right position within my base, and now I just want to push off and be able to get all of my weight onto the outside part of my foot here, right? And this is even something you could do, it is something like golfers do and stuff like that, just to be able to get the weight shift down first. So I'm completely eliminating the upper body and really focusing on how well am I able to push off with this back leg and get rotation onto that front leg and making sure that I can feel that, okay, I'm not too concerned with this front shoulder. When I start throwing, I want to get more of this action, but right now, I really just want to feel how that initial action ends up being. The next thing ends up going into wrist flick, right? So I like to start with, how am I going to start the throw? We're going to start the throw by, going here, we're loading, okay? So we just basically worked on the lower body. I'm going to finish the throw is going to be getting the hands up here and then flicking the wrist. Quarterback University is where committed quarterbacks come to take their game to the next level. Improve your throwing power, velocity, accuracy, and get the ball out of your hands faster. Not only are there videos to improve your mechanics, but there's also workout tutorials and also drills to help you improve as well. We want to help you get noticed, which is why we also included a recruiting services section. We'll have quizzes that you'll be able to take to be able to make sure that you actually get the information and are able to repeat it back. In case you have any shoulder, back, wrist, or elbow soreness, there is a section to address that as well. Click the link here in order to get started. Thanks for watching. So I'm really just going to try to get to the end position of my throw here, get my wrists in the right position, right, get that neutral position, and then finish through from that spot. And guys, these are the things that I think are super important to understand when it comes to how to make improvements within your mechanics the fastest. You got to work on the beginning, how you're using your feet, and then you got to work on being able to maintain that wrist position, right? So as I'm going through here, I'm really just focusing on wrist position to help me and being able to get that nice wrist flick when I'm finishing. And that's another big part of it is how well you're using your lower body, how well you're flicking the wrist, and then the next thing we're going to go to is how much external rotation are we getting in the shoulder. So that'll be the next thing that we'll do and then we'll work on, and this will a lot have to do with the load, right? So I'm here, I'm loading, I'm pushing off my back leg, I'm getting that kind of action down, right? And I think this is another part of the progression that would be an important thing to be able to get around. Make sure you're getting that extension, external rotation, right? Extension is pushing forward. Internal rotation is here to make it so that heel ends up going up. Okay, so I'm getting here, and then from here, I'm really thinking about allowing my shoulder to have some degree of a lag. And so I've worked on the ability to, push off that back leg and get that disassociation. And then I also worked on my ability to feel what it feels like to flick the wrist. So now I know where I want to end up. Now I could really put a focus on being able to create as much external rotation as I possibly can as I'm coming through. And while I'm doing that, I just want to make sure I'm getting to the, correct end position, both within my front leg as well as within, my wrist. So, the primary focus ends up being, that ability to kind of load here, get that initial push off, right? Then it's all into external rotation. This is in my mind, right? So the first thing I'm thinking about is big push off, get to this position, right? But all these thoughts are instantaneous. So you can go through this, boom, check mark 1. And then from here, I'm thinking rotate the wrist, get that elbow up. Don't let that elbow drop, get the elbow up. And as I'm thinking about that, I really want to allow there to be like some looseness in the back of the shoulder to create this from happening, or allow that to happen. Okay, so if I'm too tight in the back of the shoulder, I'm not going to be able to get too much external rotation. And even though my wrist is turning here, I don't want to go too much like this. I don't want to lose my wrist. I want it to be able to turn here, but just because I'm doing that doesn't mean I have to limit my ability to get external rotation. I can still have a neutral wrist and get external rotation. And as I'm shifting my weight forward, I just want to maintain a good balanced position when I finish. But the big thing is wrist, external rotation is the big part of making sure that you can really connect to the throw the best that you can. So it's all about external rotation there. And then, as I'm following through, I obviously want to be able to push off with that index finger. So there's a lot of key parts of the mechanics that we're going into in the progression. And this ends up just being, small things you can do every time you go and throw, just to make it so you build up the right habits that you need in order to be able to be successful with your, overall throwing mechanics. But I do think, some of those individual parts that you want to be thinking about will be important when it comes to, making the improvements necessary within your overall capabilities, your overall mechanics, and really making it so you get to the next level. And that's what I'm obviously all about. How can you make consistent incremental progress? I always tell the teams and the athletes I'm working about, there's nothing more powerful than compound interest, right? Compound interest is just the idea that you are consistently getting a little bit better, right? That's why people invest into real estate, stock market, thing like that, is because that's all the concept behind compound interest. You're going to be able to make consistent improvements if you work on it all consistently, right? The issue that you guys have, in my opinion, is just the ability to actually stay consistent with it. You get this program, you get this idea, you get taught this, you get taught this, so you're all over the place, right? You don't have anything that you're doing consistently. Not to say that my ideas and concepts and programs are the thing that you need to be doing consistently, but as long as you have something that you're sticking with and that you're staying, again, consistent. I keep on saying that word, but it's the truth of reality. As long as you have something that you are doing every single day that will help you in progressing with your mechanics and with your overall, throwing capabilities, whether that's even strengthening the shoulders, working on range of motion in the arm, whatever the case may be, you want to have something, you want to have a program, you want to make it laid out so it's very easy for you to access it and to actually, have something that you're doing daily instead of having to look up research, try to figure something out, then do it, and then, by that time it takes you a few hours. If you already have everything laid out, you could really be able to knock something out. Boom, this time period, I'm doing this many throws, or I'm doing this drop backs, or I'm doing this workout, or I'm doing this, routine. Whatever it ends up being, make it consistent. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. Check out the description down below, as always, and like the video, subscribe to the channel. We'll talk to you soon.